Sorry, Randy.
Check.
Like Jay.
I've been hearing myself this whole time. So I think I'm good.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Can We Talk? This is your boy Eric, and I'm here with the usual suspects, Nicole and Anthony.
What's up?
We're missing Shayna today, but it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
We got some good news, though.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever, and happy birthday to our one and only Anthony.
Thank you.
Happy 25th birthday.
25.
Guess
That's
what?
it?
Yeah,
You're
I know.
halfway to 50, like I will tell you for the third time since I've seen you today.
Right.
You know, about 100 years ago, people didn't live past 30, so you're
You
know
doing
what,
good.
man? I'm gonna look on the positive. I'm a black man. I hit 25.
right.
I pay my own bills.
Got your place.
I'm living, man. I'm winning.
So with that being said, we got to do some celebratory shots. But Nicole, she's been drinking all day. So
I have a really awesome story to tell you guys,
Yo,
but I
shout
agreed to
out.
do it drunk. I've been drinking since 10:30 this morning.
I gotta say this.
I
Shout
know.
out to Comedy Central Drunk History because they inspired Nicole to do a drunk retelling of a powerful story.
And I'm looking forward to every moment of this. Like, first off, you have mimosas.
When are we gonna videotape you guys reenacting my version of the story, though?
Oh,
Because that would be the better part of
true.
You
it.
gotta get a few drinks in us.
The reenactment of the reenactment. That's something I haven't heard of, and we might have to do that next show.
We gonna drink or what?
Oh,
man?
yeah, let's
Did you
take
get
this.
Oh
Randy a
yeah, it's
shot?
Anthony's
Oh,
birthday.
Randy, we
Does
got
the
to get you.
engineer-
Randy
drink
got his own
Here,
drink.
you could take this.
Right?
No, why don't you drink with me?
Do you want a sip of my drink?
No, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to pass on the booze.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
everybody.
Cheers, though.
Cheers to Anthony's
Cheers
25th
to Anthony,
birthday.
halfway to 50.
Hey.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. Detroit forever.
Detroit forever. Oh, that went down kind of rough.
What did you get,
Sorry.
Eric?
This was vodka.
You got the Tito's. Did you like the Tito's? Have you ever had Tito's? Because last time I saw you, you were having that
Don't embarrass me.
tequila rose.
Put some respect on my name.
The tequila rose.
Put some respect
Straight
on
up
my
The
name.
creamiest,
Milk
the creamiest
as
of
shots.
creamy.
And I'm
Hey,
like,
man.
what are you doing?
Shayna got the smoke last episode. You don't want the smoke this episode.
You
Put
should have
some
seen him
respect on my
last
name.
over. You don't want that smoke this
I
episode.
don't. I've only heard about it, and I'm afraid to.
Hey, shout out to
touch
Shayna,
them.
man. My male ego got in the way a bit.
It was good. It made an entertaining podcast for sure.
Yeah,
But you know what happens? You know, in the heat of the moment, you know, when we discussing things, it happens. So
it happens.
it is what it is. So let's get into. I guess we can get into my segment, current events. For current events, we didn't get to go over what we talked about last week at the end. I want to talk about the young ladies from the Warren High School. Was it Fitzgerald High School?
Oh,
Did I about that?
yes. That's
So-
true crime.
These were really, and they seemed like intelligent young ladies, both straight A students.
But they were fighting over a man.
And they were fighting over a boy. They're fighting over a boy.
Yeah,
One girl
a
got
boy,
jealous
thank
over
you.
something, stabbed the girl in the chest, punctured her heart,
And was
up
running
killing-
after her and laughing about
and
it.
laughing about like what is going. First off, I don't know. I'm thinking like high school relationships. Is it even worth it? Like these y'all, you probably gonna date them for like
yeah,
a month.
but when you're in high school, you don't think about that, man.
Yeah,
You gotta remember, these
honestly,
these people
like-
are still young.
In your high school years, you know everything.
Right,
Right.
Your parents
Can't
don't.
tell you shit.
it's true. But I just feel bad for like the family of both the victim and the suspect because think about it, these are two lives that are now forever changed. One girl is gone. The other, she is going to be in jail for probably the rest of her life. And just being young and dumb. And that's just very unfortunate.
Sad thing is, though, you know everything.
I know.
Because I knew
Yeah, I was like,
everything
I was
at
like
that
that too.
age.
I was like, you can't tell me nothing. I know this world. I'm 16
Oh,
years old.
My mama slapped me in the mouth a couple times because we've had it.
I could picture you being like feisty and just like,
Hey.
I'm not a nice person.
I didn't need the straight up slap. I just got the threat. Next time you sass me, I'm gonna pop you. All of a sudden, something happened to my mouth where I couldn't talk anymore, and then I just went like this.
hey, but it's something about like black parents. Like it's just like they gave you a look, and you just know not to do it.
Oh,
Like,
listen.
some
My
white
white
parents-
parents
some white parents too. Yeah.
were tough enough. My dad had
Yeah.
raised me very well, but it took a lot of, not force, but
Yeah. So you never got like spanked or
I was
whooped.
I was spanked bare ass before.
Oh, wow.
But that's because I ran away at the age of 6,
Oh.
and they found
Wait,
me.
say allegedly.
Allegedly.
In this day and age,
Right.
let's look
We don't
at it
wanna
as abuse,
incriminate
even though it's not.
Allegedly, I was spanked bare ass by my own parents.
Right,
but
right.
No, my dad's a scary man. If he looks you straight in the eyes and tells you how mad he is, that brings tears to my eyes. I am so sensitive, and then I'm like, okay, I'll listen. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's nothing like the disappointment from a parent, though.
Yeah,
That's always the saddest
and that's
thing.
what
It is.
That's what the anger came out of, was disappointment through him, and you could see that, and you just didn't do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think that's the worst thing. Like, beyond getting a whooping, like the disappointment you bring to your parents, because you want to succeed and make them proud. But when
Right.
you make them disappointed, it hurts.
I know, man. It brings many of tears, doing things I knew I shouldn't have done. But
What else
it is
happened?
what it is. Oh, I do want to talk about the Judge Kavanaugh situation.
So what did he do?
All right, so I guess allegedly you could say this. So as
Okay.
you may know, he was nominated for the Supreme Court from Donald Trump, right? So they're going through confirmation hearings and all that. I think they passed the confirmation hearing stage like 2 weeks ago. But there's an allegation was brought up saying that he sexually assaulted a girl back in high school. And so now she's coming to testify next week to Congress about the situation. And so this is like they're showing us a character flaw. Like this guy, he's it's alleged though, so it's kind of hard to say.
This is Clarence Thomas all over again.
Right.
Randy, all I can hear is the crackling of your snacks.
Yeah.
Let Randy eat. Let
Pull
Randy
back, man.
You
know
gotta
what I'm
eat. Are
saying?
you okay?
My microphone's muted.
We can hear it though.
Let Randy eat his snacks.
Sorry, Randy.
It's all right, Randy.
So, have y'all been listening to it? Have y'all paid attention to the Kavanaugh
No.
situation?
Not really. I don't really. I mean, I do care, but
Yeah.
I just know it's gonna upset me.
I mean,
Ditto.
so in this situation, what do you think should happen? So, if the allegations
said
are
ditto?
true, she said ditto.
Yeah, as in ditto.
Okay, all right, go ahead. No,
So,
I hear you.
if the allegations are true, do you think this should prevent him from being a Supreme Court justice?
So,
And again, this was high school. Like this guy's in his late
yeah, but
50s.
you got to compare this to the Birth of a Nation thing too. Nate Turner was he was convicted of allegedly raping a white woman. Nate Parker. Nate Parker is a black man who made a film about
Nat Turner,
who was up for Oscar recognition, but all that came crashing down when allegation he was convicted of from the college came back, where he allegedly raped a woman who was white, and she had committed suicide not too long after.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it as that you do need to pay for your crimes, but I guess I don't want to hear about statute of limitations, because there is no statute of limitations on grief.
I agree.
And it can be a murky line. I think there does need to be some punishment, yes.
Yeah, and I agree. I think especially in this day and age, it's more than necessary to go ahead and fully investigate this, because first off, he's going to be nominated for the highest court in the land, right? And you don't want anyone character flaws or issues like this to be making decisions about cases that can be influenced by sexual assault or something in the future. You never know. So I think in this situation, if things play out the way that I think they will, I'm hoping that he doesn't get confirmed. But knowing the Republicans, they don't care. That's a whole nother story. But I didn't want to go too deep into the current events for this week, because I know we got a good story coming up with Nicole.
It's gonna be
quick 2
the
cents,
worst
though.
story ever.
You want to do your 2 cents?
Yeah.
I gave that to Anthony. I said, I'm not in charge. You do your 2 cents, so I can sit here and study a little bit more before I butcher this story.
Okay, so 2 things. One quick thing. I finally saw Black Klansman.
Oh, what did you think?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was very good. In the beginning, I thought it was a little shaky. Like I said, okay, this film is trying to find a tone here. Like, is it comedic? Is it serious?
Right.
I think the actors did well. I think his name is John David Washington.
John David Washington, yeah.
Adam Driver. They were all good. Towards the end, it had a powerful finish. I loved the end montage.
Man.
Of just
Is Adam Driver the one from Girls?
yes,
And he played
You play Kylo
Kylo Ren.
Ren.
He's a very versatile actor.
He is. I like.
Yeah.
I definitely like him.
I had an ex-boyfriend that looked exactly like him.
We need to
And
bring him on the
sounded
show.
Exactly. No.
We could do a
There's
social
a
experiment. We
reason
could do a social
why
experiment.
he's an
though.
ex-boyfriend.
Right.
I
I
got
don't
you.
ever want to revisit that. So,
Hence why I bring it up.
Right.
But
hey, I'm drunk. I'm gonna say whatever comes to mind.
the movie was good. It was good. I liked it. I think it's one of Spike Lee's best.
Wait, one of. Okay, you didn't say the
Yeah.
best.
What?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Do the Right Thing is the best.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think it's one of his best. I love the ending, man. It took me back to school days. The wake up ending with
Yeah.
that one.
It was powerful.
Yeah. So with that being said, I want to put in my hip hop corner today. I wish Shayna was here because I want to talk about Lupe Fiasco's new album.
I didn't
I'm
get to hear
Shayna
it.
now.
So Drogas Wave came out,
Yeah.
and have you heard Lupe Fiasco's Lasers?
No.
Okay, so that's if you know the story behind that album. When he was signed at Atlantic Records, they totally compromised him to make pop music for Lasers. So it was a totally compromised Lupe. This album is an inverse Lupe where he's totally uncompromised.
Oh.
So it's that's both a good and a bad thing. I mean, because it's like it's all a Lupe just thrown at you, and it's a very dense album. It has a lot of complex lyricism. He has 2 songs dedicated to 2 young infants who were killed before they even turned 10.
Wow.
2 different incidents, 2 different regions. One is dedicated to Alan Kurdi. The other one is dedicated to hold on, let me see that's right here. Jonila Watkins. So one song is called Alan Forever. One song is called Jonila Forever, and it talks about if these 2 kids grew up before they were just so wrongfully shot down or killed at a young age. It's a very dense album. It is like it's not something you can listen to on the go. You got to sit down and really listen to his words and look up the lyrics and stuff like that. It's a very dense piece of work. I want to hear what Shayna has to say about it. But one more thing, I started watching Maniac on Netflix.
Okay.
Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. I love it.
Okay. But to go back to the Lupe album, it's 24 tracks?
24 tracks.
24 tracks. Okay.
It's a very dense album.
Yeah, that's
It
a
is.
lot. It's going to take you some time to get through.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
to definitely internalize.
But I recommend that. I recommend Maniac on Netflix.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about, I don't want to give too much away, but it's about these 2 people who have been diagnosed with certain conditions. They take a pill and weird stuff starts happening.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I haven't really seen anything personally this week, so I'm going to try to definitely watch Maniacs and see what it's about. So, this brings me to a happy moment. We get to see drunk Nicole in action.
Nicole wants to smoke a cig before we start her story.
You get me drunk, I'm going to want to do a bunch of different things than what I agreed to. That's
I
how it
wish we
works.
could see her smoke the cig here, but
I know,
we
we
can't.
cannot.
We can't.
So you want to bullshit for about 5 to 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'll let you guys do that so
Let's
I can
bullshit
do
for
that.
about
I
5
got to
to
get
10
ready.
Okay, yeah, go get
Are
yourself.
you sure?
Get
Please
yourself
tell me.
together.
Oh, you guys are gentlemen.
Please tell me for 5 to 10 minutes. All right, you can go, Nicole. Why you love the Lions so much? And why
All
you're
right.
Oh,
ditching-
okay, yeah, I don't want to be
and-
any
and I'm gonna
why
need-
you're ditching my dinner for this?
All right, I'm gonna need Randy's help for this as well.
Nah, you don't.
The Detroit Lions are the most pathetic yet exciting, pathetic yet exciting team the city of Detroit has to offer.
Thank you. Thank you.
They are playing a game, a must-win game tonight. You know, it's really only they're 0-2 right now, so this is a game that they must win, and it's a
They're not
game that I
going-
must see.
Listen, if they win, great. But if they don't, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be surprised, man.
They're probably gonna lose. This brings the
Okay, we'll be on the lookout.
right. This brings up a greater question that I have
Yeah.
about the state of Detroit teams.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Like all of our teams from the Lions, the Pistons,
Don't
the
put
Red
this on
Wings.
the other ones. Listen. Don't put this on the Pistons
No.
and Red Wings. We got good legacies with them. Don't bring them into this.
But-
Don't bring the Tigers into this.
But this era of our history right now, I'm talking about like the past 3 to 5 years, have been the worst for every team that we have in the city of Detroit.
People have declines. People have
Mm-hmm.
bad eras. We're just in the bad era right now. I still
don't know.
believe in Detroit.
I'm trying, man. I'm a faithful. I'm a diehard.
We
But-
all know where it stems from with the Lions, man. It has
What's
a
that?
curse.
I don't believe that
They
curse. man.
sold that player or whatever or something like that.
Oh yeah, back in like the 50s or something like that.
Randy knows who we're talking about.
Yeah. What is you're not a
He
sports
doesn't
person?
know.
What's a sport?
Wait, what are you? What are your interests?
Superhero TV shows?
Oh,
I don't know.
shoot.
Okay. So there was a superhero once upon a time called Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
He was great on the field. You know what I mean?
He
so,
could fly.
Yeah, he could fly. I don't know, man. I think we have a curse, man. Like, I really think you should come to this dinner.
I think it's a mentality that we have. There's so much negativity around the Detroit Lions that people don't believe. That lack of hope, that lack of belief leads to apathy.
It's not that I don't believe. It's that I'm just saying, like, I ain't going to be surprised if they lose.
I got a feeling, though, man. I usually have feelings with my sports teams. Like last night with Michigan State, we took on Indiana. I was like, man, we got this game. I just know. I got this sense.
Once upon a time, I called you a leftist apologist. And we were talking about Samantha Bee and what she said about, was it Ivanka Trump or was it the daughter?
I think it was, I think it might have been a daughter.
It might have been the daughter.
Yeah.
And we compared it to Roseanne and her tweets. And I said, well, there should be equal punishment here. You was like, I don't know. And I'm like, right now, I think you're a Lions apologist.
I am a Lions apologist,
You're a
man.
Lions
I'm a slappy.
apologist.
It's just because, when this is the only team that you have. Like, some states got multiple teams. Like, New York has, 3 or 4 teams where you can root for. For us in Michigan, we only get the Lions. So it's almost like you have to give it your all. You got to be that fanatic with the team because this is our hometown team, and this is our home state, our home city team. I don't understand people who are so quick to just be like, you know what? The Lions suck. I hate that. And so for me, and I'm going to go on my soapbox a little bit right now, for me, the Detroit Lions have been a staple of my life. Meaning, as a kid, growing up, I used to watch all the games, Barry Sanders back in the day.
All right, let's cut the BS.
Nicole's
back.
Nicole's
He's like,
back?
end it.
All right.
End the Lions talk.
Nicole is back.
All right.
Sorry,
She's
guys.
drunk. She's going to talk about some history.
All right.
Some drunk true crime history.
Shout out to Drunk History.
Hey.
Shout out to Drunk History. Also, I'm going to apologize to Mary Vincent and her family before I butcher her survival story. But I do appreciate how she got through and made it through all this horrifying events that you could never imagine putting yourself through and coming out in a good end at the end of the day.
Mary.
Sounded bad. Okay.
Just push
Already
through it.
butchered it.
Just push through it. Go for it.
Pushing through it. All right. So I'm here to tell the story about Mary Vincent. It's a survival story. She was 15 years old in 1978 when she had this horrific, terrifying event happen to her. So at 15, you know how stupid you can be and how
All the
you
time.
think you're right all the time, even though people are telling you you're wrong. This is basically kind of that story. Mary Vincent.
You're towing the line between the fences here. Let's
I
just.
know.
You're towing the line.
I know.
All right.
But Mary Vincent, she grew up in Las Vegas with her parents. Her mom dealt cards, and her dad was one of those people who fixed the machines at the casino. And that's how she grew up. And she was 15, thought she knew better, and had a boyfriend who lived in California. So she was constantly hitchhiking between Las Vegas and California with her boyfriend. And at some point, her boyfriend ended up going to jail for rape. And she had nowhere to go. She was in California at this time. So she decided she was going to hitchhike back from California back to Reno, Nevada to be with her grandfather and start living out her life. She was a good dancer. She could do a lot of amazing things. And when I say dancer, I mean like ballet dancer,
Oh, so I was thinking
Okay.
stripper. Okay.
All
not
right.
a stripper
Okay.
in Las Vegas because that's
Right. That's
very
we're
common.
showgirls, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they do. I'm wasted. But I'm going to push through
keep
with the
pushing
story.
through.
So eventually, she's hitchhiking, and 1978 was a weird time. You could hitchhike and not be too concerned about the consequences of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were hitchhiking. She was hitchhiking with a bunch of different groups of hitchhikers. I'm going to burp.
No, don't vomit.
Just go ahead and do
I'm
it.
not. That was my little burp.
Just unfiltered Nicole. Let's go.
You got me drunk. This is how drunk history works. Someone burps or throws up at some point. I'm not going to throw up, Randy. Don't worry about me. So they're hitchhiking, and this guy pulls up in a van, big ass, bright blue, like light blue van, and it's a very old man. And he stops and he's like, "All right, I'm only going to take her
Wow.
wherever she wants to go." He didn't want to take any of the other. I think there was 3 other hitchhikers with her, and she's like, "All right." And the other
Stupid.
hitchhikers are like, "Hey, this is kind of shady. He's got a really big van, and nobody else is in it.
Probably
He's
some
got
candy.
so many empty seats, and he's only offering to take you.
Oh.
You might want to be a little wary about this, Mary."
Right.
But she said, no, he looks like a grandpa. I'm sure he'll be fine.
It's always the grandpas.
Innocent man. So
That's how it goes.
it is. So Mary gets in the van and leaves the other hitchhikers behind. And she gets comfortable. There's one really kind of concerning point that she did take note of, but apparently didn't take note of enough. She was smoking a cigarette and she sneezed in the van. And the grandpa-looking guy, who is Lawrence, goddamn it, Singleton. That's his name.
Okay.
Lawrence Singleton reached over and touched her on the back of her neck and said, "Oh, are you getting sick, darling?"
Oh,
Some guy you don't know
yeah.
touching you in that way. And she thought that was a little concerning, but, she finished her cigarette and ended up going to sleep. So she wakes up and she notices that they're going in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
They should have been heading west, and she realizes that they're going east.
Mm-hmm.
And so she turns to him and she's like, "Oh my God, where are you going? You're going the wrong way." And he turns around and he's like, "Oh, it was an honest mistake. I wasn't paying attention. I'm tired. I've been driving a lot. I'm going to turn around right now." So he turns around and she's like, "All right, that's fine." Well, eventually, I believe she falls asleep again.
That's where she went wrong.
Well, she was hitchhiking a lot too, and that can make you a little tired, I guess. But yeah,
Yes.
she went wrong necessarily. And she wakes up and she's tied up by her wrist and her ankles and in the back of the van. No, I'm telling the story wrong already. I know I am. No, he said it was an honest mistake.
You had one job, Cole.
I know I
One-
did. I'm drunk, okay?
All right.
But I know now. I
All right,
know.
honest mistake.
When she mentioned that they were going the wrong way to him, he said he was an honest man. He didn't mean to make that mistake. So he tells her, like, "Okay, well, I'm going to stop the car anyway because I have to go pee." And she's like, "Okay." And she looks down and she notices that her right shoe is untied. And in her brain, she's thinking, "I'm going to tie this shoe because this situation's kind of getting a little sketchy. If I tie my shoe, I can run away." As she bends down to tie her shoe, he clubs her in the head and she blacks out. And that's when she wakes up with her wrist and her ankles tied up in the back of the van.
Okay.
And so Lauren Sterling, this old
Singleton.
Singleton.
Right, Singleton. Yep.
Yep, see, told you, was going to fuck this up.
All right.
No.
Lauren Singleton, at this moment, decides, like, ties her up and does all these things, and she wakes up to him raping her. And while he's raping her, he's, like, stopping in between it and pouring alcohol down her throat, like getting her wasted, getting her inebriated so she can't really, do anything to help herself, kind of making it a little more difficult on her. So, from what I read, he raped her for a really excruciating long time. Like, it was like one of that situations as a woman where you're like, "Ugh, is this ever going to end?" But imagine feeling that when you're raped.
People usually choose lighthearted stories to tell drunk. I mean, this is kind of.
Or this is
It's
depressing. I'm-
more
I'm
bad.
like,
I know. I
guys,
told you I'm going to... This might never
Wow.
air. We should probably never air this.
No, we're
It's
going to
gonna
air
air.
this. It's
Okay.
already on Facebook
But
Live.
all
All
right,
right, go.
Great.
so they kept going. All right.
So it gets to a point at one point where, like, she's crying and screaming, "Please let me go. Like, stop. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, please free me." And he says, "Okay, you want to be free? I'll free you." So he unties her ankles. And at that point, when she's getting ready to run away, he takes a hatchet and he chops off her left arm. And at this whole point, while he's like, because it takes a couple hacks. Are you okay?
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
Takes a couple hacks and finally gets that one arm off. She has her other arm, like, grabbing him and trying to escape and, like, push him away so he's not hacking off that arm. And from her story, she remembers hanging onto him and all of a sudden falling back. He had hacked off the other arm that was grabbed onto him. And
I
she
got a feeling
remembers...
this isn't even the high point of
It's
the
not.
violence.
She remembers falling back and seeing him, like, kind of wiggling and trying to get something off of him. It was her other arm that was gripping on him. It was, like, leached onto his other arm. So finally he gets it off. And she's still crying and pleading, like, "Please just let me go. I cannot, please, just stop. So he goes, okay, you want to be let go? I'm going to let you go. So Lawrence Singleton pulls Mary to the end of a canyon and throws her 30 feet down. And this woman wakes up in like a ravine with mud like all around her. And she wakes up and she decides to like pack all of her wounds, like her little stubby arms, with mud to keep the blood from.
Wait, how does she do it? She doesn't have any other arms to. Does she like put her
She
nub
kind
into
of like
the...
put her nubs in the
Oh, okay.
God.
digs them in there to pack the bleeding, and starts like crawling her way out of a 30-foot ravine. And she does come across, like, she finally gets to the highway and she comes across like two men in a convertible. In the story I read, they looked like they could have been on their honeymoon, so good for them.
Yeah.
But they saw her, and it's like some freakish scene if you see Mary Vincent at this point. She's covered in blood. She's naked. By the way, I didn't bring that up. She has no clothes on at all because he was raping her, and she's just got mud and blood all over her, no arms. So as a random couple driving by, when you see that, you're either going to freak out and drive really quickly away or do what you can to help her. That couple freaked the fuck out and drove away. But another couple, which was a male and a female, ended up seeing her.
I don't know how to respond to all this.
Me neither. I'm trying to think of a
It's
way
like,
to sort of.
I'm trying to think of the appropriate response to make, but okay, go ahead.
Another couple, a man and a female, who were actually for sure on their honeymoon,
Okay.
drove by and saw her. And they ended up getting her in the car, calling the police, and they had a helicopter airlift her from where the closest they could get to bring her to a hospital. And she ended up losing both of her arms. That's not the end of the story, though.
Okay.
So she's got these nubby arms, and she had to, the police showed up, and she gave a really apparently descriptive comparison to Lawrence Sterling Singleton.
Is it Sterling Singleton or Lawrence
It's
Singleton?
Singleton.
Okay.
Do you have a Sterling in your life?
I lived in Sterling Heights.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay. All right.
But so she gave a really descriptive description of Lawrence Singleton. And they ended up finding him like a couple days later. They found him. But because it was 1978, the criminal justice system was it's still kind of fucked up, but it was pretty fucked up. Lawrence Singleton ended up getting sentenced. By the way, before he got sentenced, he testified that Mary Vincent was a 10-cent prostitute and that she's the one who actually raped him, and he hurt her out of self-defense. And that's the long story short, is he tried to defend himself. So after two testimony, I think they went to court twice, Mary Vincent did, to testify against Lawrence Singleton. And eventually he did get sentenced. He got sentenced to 16 years in prison. But at the time, if you behaved well and for every time you worked a day in prison, they would take a day off your sentence. So Lawrence Singleton actually ended up getting off after 8 years.
Wow.
And within those 8 years, or after he got off, within that time frame, he ended up murdering another woman. And that's where we're going to lead into the flaws of the criminal justice system.
What did he get for that?
That's something I did not check on. That's a good question. I can look it up.
Hopefully he's
You know
alive.
what?
and,
I
I
don't know what to say.
I'm disturbed. I'm disillusioned. I think this was we call this a drunken retelling of a true horror story
Yeah.
by Nicole. And I think
Good job, Nicole.
yeah. I think where's that voice machine
yeah.
that does the applause and all that.
Oh, I think I found it. Where's
Well, hold up. Let's do a moment of silence to just dedicate Nicole for getting through that because God bless her. You know,
yeah,
God
I've
bless
been
her.
drinking since 10:30, and I want to die.
Please don't
Oh,
die on
wrong
us.
one.
There you go.
Here, I got you. I got you.
Hey, there we go. That's even better. Thank you, Nicole.
It's like, man, I don't think she should have told that drunk, sweetie.
Yeah, you're like, oh. See, that's why that was my concern to you, though. I was like, it's a survival story, but I don't want to disrespect anyone by telling it really drunk and getting things wrong.
So is she still alive by any chance?
Yeah, she is.
So there's some cautionary tales within this. First off, try not to hitchhike. If
Right.
you do, don't hitchhike and jump into a car with an old man who is in a van by himself. Who's kind of creepy. And then,
Yeah, he
try to
went
pack
on
your arms with.
to murder a woman in Florida in 1997.
Yeah.
But
me see a
nope,
picture of this guy.
he's dead. He died in 2001 of cancer before the sentence could carry out. So,
Oh, he avoided that too.
yeah.
Well, no, he didn't get off. He didn't get off easy. That's karma right there.
Oh, he looks so creepy.
Cancer.
Those eyebrows,
Oh
right?
my God, those things
Cancer.
are thick.
Cancer is a monster to deal with. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So, criminal justice reform.
Eric doesn't. Hey, this is the first time I've seen Eric speechless. Like
I don't know what to say.
That was interesting right there. So, all right, I'm gonna just start it off like this. Nicole, what do you think of the criminal justice system today? Like, how do you think it's improved, or how do you think we got a long ways to go?
We have a lot of long ways to go. If Eric, I don't think you know this. Anthony might know that I actually do have no associates in criminal justice. I originally went to school to be a probation officer, and then I decided I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of downfalls. I think a lot of it has to do with marijuana at the time too right now. There's a lot of people in prison where they could be making room for people like Lawrence Singleton to stay in prison longer because they actually murdered someone.
Yeah.
Compared to people who are in jail for or prison for, selling marijuana, which has not been proven to murder anybody.
Or possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous when there's so many psychopaths and sociopaths out there who are committing these real crimes and somehow still escaping prison at the end of the day and getting to commit these crimes again. I think they don't put enough money into researching a little bit more into the people who could always be a danger to society.
I agree with that. I think the criminal justice system, in its essence, is a business, and it thrives off of the exploitation of people, specifically those who are poor. And when you're looking at laws such as like the strict laws within regards to marijuana and sort of sentencing of individuals with marijuana cases, when half of the states have legalized it, well, not half, but a good amount of states have legalized marijuana, but you're starting to see that they're still disproportionately incriminating poor people, right? That's an issue. And then you also have to look at people's access to attorneys. Like if you have a public defender, 9 times out of 10, you're just probably going to plead guilty as opposed to someone who has a private attorney as well.
What they're going to tell you to do.
Right. And so typically those who get public defenders are those who are poor and can't afford it. In this case, I'm not sure what type of attorney he had, but he must have had a pretty good attorney to only get 8 years for that. But again, it shows you that it doesn't really...
Was it the attorney or was it the time?
Could have been the...
I think it both had to do with it at the end of the day.
Okay.
Because the 70s, I'm not sure the legal system in the 70s, but I'm sure that it wasn't as strict as it was today.
I think one of the saddest things about the justice system is that once you're in the system, whether you're guilty or innocent, whether you're guilty and you've redeemed yourself or whatever, it's hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
There's not many avenues to get yourself out of the system once you're in. And there's a problem there because it's a paradox. It's an unfair paradox against, the underprivileged and people who have truly redeemed themselves.
Yeah, I watched the show on Netflix. I think I told you about it last week. It's called First and Last. And it talks about individuals' first day in jail and then their last day in jail. And sort of it highlights their experiences. And a lot of times those people who are coming out of the prison and jail systems, they haven't been successfully rehabilitated. Like half the people, they end up going back to jail for doing what they did previously. So all you're doing is just providing them with these cages, lock them in cages, and then assuming that this is going to correct their behavior. But all it's doing is just creating further people who with more issues coming out than when they came in. So that's a problem. Also, that show as well, it does a great job of highlighting sort of some of the racial imbalances. Like someone showing like a young black kid who got put over something stupid, like something like marijuana or something, and he got charged for like what was it? He was in there for like 90 days for like marijuana possession, which really makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. What is the name of the man who had the Khalif Browder?
Oh yeah,
I think that's a great tale right there.
It is.
Man who was sent to prison, who was innocent.
Yep.
And after he was released, after being an activist for what happened and standing up for how he was wronged, he got depressed and he ended up committing suicide. Am I right?
That's the truth. Yeah.
There are lasting implications to how flawed this system is.
And the issue too is that other countries truly rehabilitate their individuals. Like I was looking at the prison system in like Sweden or something. It was one of the European countries. They're literally like almost like college campuses. Like these people are going to jail, but they're also learning skilled trades. They're learning how to sort of cope with their anger. They're truly being rehabilitated. So once they finally leave, they're actually contributing members to the society. Whereas for us, we stigmatize these individuals who went to prison or jail, and we pretty much cast them off. Like once they get out, they're no longer humans in our eyes. Right. But some of them are being put into prison for false accusations, and that's the worst part. For like this guy, the Singleton guy, he deserves to be in jail for life. Unfortunately, at that time, it didn't work out that way.
No, he just died instead.
Or he just died instead. So there's people who truly deserve to be there, but there are thousands of individuals who are falsely accused all the time.
Of course. Who
don't have the representation, who are given these horrible public defenders who just tell them to plead guilty, and that's it.
And you always get the smart-ass response. Well, everybody's innocent in Shawshank.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's true. And I think that we have to sort of readjust what it means to truly incarcerate someone and sort of rehabilitate them in our system.
I got another question, and this is strictly for Nicole. I gotta understand, like, what makes you so? I don't know if you touched on this during our desensitized episode about true crime TV. What makes you so interested about true crime? Like, what intrigues you about it?
It makes you aware, and it makes you realize. It does. It makes you see who the flaws are at. There's always going to be messed up people everywhere you go who are willing to commit these crimes and hurt people. And I always wanted to be that person who would have something to do with keeping these people away from the good people. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, there's not enough of us. There's not enough of opinion. There's not enough of a lot of things that can prevent these, criminals from coming out of the woodworks and committing these crimes to, kill somebody or, dispense heroin. Because at the end of the day, that kills a lot of people. Right. There's just not enough. I have no words for the criminal justice system. It's kind of like, and I'm really drunk, and I hope this sounds understandable.
You sound like you're coming down.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope so. I am a little bit, but I want to compare it to surgery. In surgery, you open somebody up and you try to figure out what's wrong with them, and you can try to figure out the best way to give them the best quality of life they could have. And at the same time, that's what the criminal justice system is supposed to do, is to find these criminals, bring them back down to giving them the best quality of life they could have without hurting another human. And it goes both ways, for the victims and for the people who commit these crimes. And I've always had this obsession with it, and I've always been obsessed with learning like where they come from when they do this and all those things.
Okay, all right. That was a nice assessment.
That was. I mean, overall, when it comes down to justice, at least in this country, we try to, we say that justice is blind, that regardless of who you are, where you come from, the hand of law is equal, right? But it's based off of a system that is imperfect, right? They're flawed individuals. Like, just as people, we have biases. We aren't perfect, so we make mistakes. So when you're dealing with a system that's supposed to intend to help those who are innocent, but you have flawed people who are running it, what? There's no way that it can be perfect. There's no way that we're going to have, in Mary Vincent's case, that there'll be justice across the board because it's tainted by the individuals. I mean, do you agree?
I agree.
I agree.
So, what in your mind, what does a perfect criminal justice system look like?
There's no telling. Honestly, we can put all the money we want into the criminal justice system, but at the same time, you're going to come across cops who are kind of a little twisted and they work for the other side, and or they're racist, or there's. It's hard to say. It kind of comes back down to social justification. Nope. I'm too drunk to have this conversation now.
No, I mean, you were coming down a bit. You touched on some good points. You tried. I don't think justice should be totally blind.
It shouldn't.
I think that's a conflicting statement.
Yeah. I read about a lot of cases where the cops don't do all they can do.
Because that's part of the problem when you're blind. I mean, I understand being blind to, okay, this person's a cop. He's to protect and serve us. Go easy on him. No, you should be a little blind to that and treat him as equal as everyone else.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not saying be sensitive, but understand the certain environments people are coming from, and the injustices in those environments, and why certain things may be done, or why people are caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, strictly by coincidence or by being pulled out by prejudice, feelings. Not be sensitive, but be aware.
Yeah, there's nuances to everything. Like every case isn't cut and dry like that. Sometimes you have to look at the like I said, the environmental factors that sort of led and contribute to that. So if you got a 16-year-old kid who grew up real poor, who's just trying to make it, he doesn't have parents in his life, and he makes a mistake and slips up, why give that kid the maximum sentence when you know that this is going to ruin his life forever?
I think the figurative, I don't know if that's the right word. I think Lady Justice needs to keep one eye open.
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to happen here. And I know I'm speaking in very broad terms, but in a way, I pretty much am summarizing how I feel. I think there needs to be one eye open.
But then whose perspective is Lady Justice sort of?
It goes case by case.
Because again, if it's not blind, again, what I'm arguing is that it's not blind currently, and that with it being not blind, sort of our biases, whether it's explicit or implicit biases, are sort of weighing in on decisions. So you're saying your counter argument is that it shouldn't be blind to begin with. It should be always sort of looking at issues, or looking at like the nuances within, justice. But what if you have someone? But what if you have people who aren't looking out for the best interests of, those who are disenfranchised, or, those who don't have money or the voice? I mean, because it could still be influenced by bad actors. That's what I'm saying. Because people have biases.
Money does. Money has a lot to do with the criminal justice system.
Oh, a ton.
You can get out of, like Robert. He killed Bonnie Lee Blakely. Robert Blake did, and he got away with it.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of money.
O.J.
But if you look,
OJ,
if you look at their background and all the evidence that points towards them, at the end of the day, they had enough money to get out of this situation.
Like that, what was that, the affluenza case? Y'all remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one.
What happened? Was it was he like drunk driving or something?
I believe it was something along those lines, and he claimed to have affluenza, meaning I'm so privileged, I don't take other people's lives into account. I'm in my own bubble. Please help me. And that actually benefited to him not getting such a harsh sentence.
That's crazy. I don't understand that at all. My God.
Money talks, man.
Money does talk. But in cases like Mary Vincent, I have a feeling that it's sort of, and I know the 70s were a different time, but I think it's sort of society's view of women as well.
It is. It has a lot to do with it. I mean,
she's a very strong woman to get out of that, though. I gotta
is.
say that.
Part of the story I did not mention was she suffered for at least 30 years of her life dealing with the PTSD of being raped like that, having her arms chopped off like that. She suffered from a lot of depression. She almost, committed suicide a couple of times because that was the burden she had to carry after that happened. And especially, like, I can never put myself in Mary Vincent's shoes, but I can imagine if you were to go through something like that and then see the person who did that to you get out of prison after 8 years and eventually commit that crime at a worser level. Worser's not a word.
It's good. It's all right.
It's all right. We get the gist of what you're
we,
saying.
we understand.
And an even worse level. It's upsetting. That can definitely mess with your head.
Yeah. And I'm sure the fact that she theoretically feared that she could run into him again.
Well,
right?
I didn't mention this either. So during one of the court trials, when they were going through convicting Lawrence Singleton, he did turn to Mary Vincent and he mouthed towards her, "This isn't the end.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna kill you at the end of the day. My sole purpose in life is to murder you now."
Okay.
He mouthed this to her, or he actually said it?
He said something along the lines like, "It's not over. I'm gonna kill you." He put it in a very short term. I didn't, because...
So this is documented. He said this in front of the lawyers and everybody.
That's crazy. That's
Wow.
a problem.
It's a problem when you can
And
say that in the
still,
courtroom.
after 8 years, they said, "Nope, he was a model citizen in prison. He can go."
So why let him go and have Charles Manson stay in? Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Charles deserved to stay in. He's crazy.
Yeah, but this guy's crazy too.
Yeah,
Well, he just chopped the lady's
Both of
arms off.
them.
Like,
Right.
are crazy.
I mean, so in this situation, so you said the defense, they claimed that she was a prostitute and she raped.
Lawrence Singleton claimed
Okay.
that she was a 10-cent prostitute.
But
And that she was like pretty much, offering to give him what he took from her.
Oh my God.
And, she threatened to kill him to get the money back or whatever it was. Like, he tried to put the blame on her, essentially.
A victim blaming, huh? No, but it's so strange that he was able to get off. Well, not necessarily get off. He still served time, but that sounds like such a loosey goosey defense. Like, oh, she raped me, and
Well, and another thing
she-
though, there was so when he got sentenced and got out of prison, a lot of states had issues with it. Like, he was supposed to be let off in California, and California was like, "Fuck no, we don't want him living here with us," and they signed a petition. So they signed the petition, and he had a very difficult time, being on parole and finding somewhere to live, because every time he would try to move to a different state to live, there would be these crazy petitions signed, like, no, he doesn't deserve to be here.
Good.
But the criminal justice system ended up letting him live on the San Quentin prison grounds in a trailer until he was off of parole. And that's when he could move to Florida with nobody, fighting against it anymore. There was no laws against him moving to Florida.
Yeah.
So he moves to Florida and kills a bitch.
That's
A
just-
woman. Sorry. I'm drunk.
It's all right. We got the gist.
all the crazy people live in Florida, though. That's
That
what
it. They
Charlamagne
all
says.
the alligators and the old people all live there, and they're all crazy.
All right. I think we should give some final thoughts here. I mean, Eric, you want to go first, or?
All right, I would say in this situation, justice has failed people on multiple levels. Those who are accused of crimes and those who are victims of crimes. And there needs to be substantive change that happens in order for us to really try to balance this out. How that's going to happen and sort of what we do to sort of adjust this, who knows? But we definitely need to figure out or hope things like that never happen again. And I feel like that probably won't happen again ever because it was the 70s.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily, result in hitchhiking like they did back in the 70s.
Right. But I'm sure there are sort of similar circumstances or situations that have happened since then. So we just got to do a better job. We need to, wake up, talk to our politicians about changing legislation that's come as it relates to criminal justice reform, and make sure our voices are heard.
Nicole, any more thoughts?
the criminal justice system is kind of shitty. And I only know that because I watch a lot of true crime stories that make me believe that. It could also be, you know, it has a lot to do with what we're advertised, and like we talked about a couple weeks ago, are we sensitive to news now? Like, are we sensitive to what's going on in America? We glorify all the terrible things that are happening right now. I mean, think about it. There are so many YouTube channels right now that feel like they're doing a good job bringing up missing people cases to help spread the word, so, you know, we can find someone who's legitimately missing, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it also glorifies it.
Yeah, I do think that's that. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. It does glorify it. I mean, it is beneficial, but it is also a little bit. I don't think the glorifying it comes to a
Not in a bad intention at
Right,
all.
right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Wow, I never
Yeah,
thought about
that's,
that.
that's true.
I
That's
think
perspective.
you done hit on something.
That's
Out of this
perspective
whole
I didn't think
episode.
about. Yeah.
That was one thing you hit on that I never
Drunk
thought about.
Nicole is a wizard.
She got gems.
She's a thing of ratchet beauty. I've said this.
Drunk Nicole throwing out gems right now.
Yeah. Well, my final thoughts are, you know, peace to Mary Vincent, of course, and Mary Vincent's
She's still
family.
alive. She's not dead.
Well, peace anyway. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
she lived through that. You know what I mean?
She did, and she actually is in a good place now, is what I have been reading. And you know, she does
Wonderful.
do a lot.
Does she have prosthetics now, or she?
She has 2 prosthetic arms, and she's learning how to live with them. And I believe she has 2 children now.
Oh, that's all.
Okay.
That's good.
Great.
She's happy.
Good.
Lawrence Singleton is dead.
Good. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
He died in 2001, like I said, from cancer because he deserved it.
Hopefully he's rotting somewhere in hell.
All right. We tried. We at Can We Talk, a part of Podcast Detroit, tried
This
something.
was the dark
We-
version.
we
the
tried.
dark Nicole drunk version.
We tried an experiment today, and shout out to Drunk History, which is a way more, uplifting, lighthearted show than what we got today. I think we might be onto something, or I
Right.
think we might have just.
I'll do this again with a happier story.
I would suggest that if you got if you got any feedback,
Please, Nicole.
if you got any feedback for what we heard or what we went through today, let us know. Yeah, it was an experiment. God help us.
Anthony's the one stuck with me throughout the
may
rest
God
of the
have mercy
afternoon.
on your
I
soul.
couldn't drive myself like this.
This was a
Kidding
great
me?
episode. Well, this was a episode of Can We Talk?
So may God have mercy on your soul.